Ron, I was reading your white paper, and one of the things that stuck out to me, you described the future of advice coming quick or already here, really, finding the right blend of high tech and then high touch service. And we know that AI is here and continuing to uh, hit us in the face more and more and change our industry, and technology is rapidly advancing. How should we as advisors think about automation with personal interaction? Like what are the aspects of what should we digitize and then what should we keep deeply human? How do you think about that as you're automating a lot of things in your business?
Yeah, so I'll start with a very high level quote that is my guiding principle on this. One of my favorite books is called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And he has a statement in there that I've quoted many times. I share it with my team. I keep it in front of myself. He basically says, we live in a world where the vast majority of things are essentially worthless. And there's a very small number of things that we do that are actually valuable. So I would first say, having a moment of introspection and thinking about this, like, what is the most valuable thing I do for my client? And what I believe you'll jump past is rebalancing, finding the right funds, building model portfolios. You'll probably even jump past things like cash flow projections, and you'll jump past, in my experience of doing this, all the technical stuff, right? And what will usually come down to that is like, help my clients make really good decisions, or I help my clients avoid bad decisions, or I bring my clients confidence through how we approach this, right? So when you ask yourself what it is that you do that's really valuable, I think that starts to identify the key of where you want to always be. And then the stuff around that, the how do you do this, right? How do you make a person feel confident in their decision to step out of cashing a paycheck and start taking distributions from their portfolio? Like, how do you make them feel confident about their investment strategy and, how they're approaching the market? So my way of looking at this is the things that are most valuable are the questions we ask, the emotional empathy we bring, right? How we help people think. So that would be answer one to this. The second part of this is a technical, here's how I think you get there. If you make a process map, okay?
Yeah.
And you say, here is every step of the journey that someone's going to go on from the moment that they meet with me till the moment they become a client and they're fully onboarded. So every advisor might have different definitions of what that means. But if you imagine saying, okay, well, I'm going to have, an intro meeting, and then I'm going to build a proposal, and then the client's going to sign off on it, and I'm going to have some kind of discovery meeting and gathering documents. Like, if you map out the entire workflow or process of what it takes for a person to become a client of yours, and even if it's just, I have these.
You're just talking internal, not a map that you show them. You're seeing.
Correct.
Internal.
Yeah, this is an internal planning tool. You can actually extrapolate this into a new client onboarding roadmap, which we've done. Clients love it because they see what's coming. They know what to expect. But this is internal, so thank you for clarifying. Even if your process map is a picture of a whiteboard where you're sequentially going through what it takes for that client to go through your process and become a client. Here's what you can do with that then. If you imagine a financial practice with no technology, and you first create this process map, what you then do next is say, where do I put technology in here to reduce the friction or to make it easier for the client? A lot of times as advisors, we buy technology that makes it easier for us, or we buy technology, I say buy, like, we're paying a subscription. We get technology for our practice because it's like the latest, greatest shiny object, everybody has it. If you know the exact process that you believe you need to take a client through to do your best work, then you can go out there and first pass through this is, where do I put technology in place that's going to make it easier for them? So you might say, I'm going to get sales and marketing automation. I'm going to put in place a digital document storage system that's really easy to use so they can just securely upload documents. You can go through and have this thoughtful, kind of walk through your process, but with your client's lenses on it, right? And that's the right way that I would say to think about how do you blend high tech and high touch? Because if you just go out there and try and buy all the latest and greatest technology, you might be high tech, but your personal connection and your touch might be terrible because there's no thoughtful decision points about where is this technology versus where is this me, the human, leading them through it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I remember years ago, probably, 6, 7 years ago, speaking to a prospective client, and we've created this system where we can gather all of their data And at the time, it was just a PDF. It wasn't a fancy technology, but it's like, how can we save time from and not have to ask all these questions in the first or second meeting? And we send it, and then he calls me, and he's like, "That's kind of why I wanted to hire you, is so that I could just talk to you and give you these things." And
Yeah.
and we learned, oh, okay, well, maybe something's off here. We got to think differently about how we're going to gather this. It was a little too impersonal for what we were doing. So we revamp it and learn, and it was good feedback.
So this is a really good point too. Depending on who your client is and who your best client is, your blend of high tech and high touch might be very different. If you're playing in, let's say, the ultra high net worth space and you're trying to position yourself as this like consigliere that handles things, like that person might not want to use the technology. They're like, I'm paying you, like I can go get the technology myself if I want it. I don't want that. I want to just send you a text message and be like, Dave, move money for me, or Dave, handle this for me, right? So being thoughtful about the experience that your client is going to find, not just to be the most enjoyable, but be the right one that fits them, right? And then technology should be, I think it was Steve Jobs that said, or had some kind of point that you never notice good tech or good software. It just functions. We only ever notice bad tech and bad software, right?
Yeah.
And I look at what we've tried to do at LifeWorks, and I've said, I want the technology to be something where when we deploy it inside of our process, clients aren't necessarily noticing it. We're still the advisor and we're still front and center. There's just a really like seamless tech experience that we're, constantly working to improve. But we're trying to make it so that the technology isn't really the thing, right? That's just something that's there, it works, it's simple. And to that extent, I would say a lesson I've now learned here is less is more. So the less technology you have in your business and your practice, the less pieces of software that the client has to touch or interact with, better.
Yeah. If you want, I would suggest reading the white paper that Ron wrote. I'll include a link below. I think that's available, right, Ron? That's out there? Okay.
Yep, it should be. If not, I'll make it available. If not, I'll get you a public URL where they can just download it.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thanks, Ron.